Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's lesson. This is your third grade class, and the subject we'll be covering today is health education. And you will be creating a comic about healthy habits using an app called Pixin. So let's just get straight into it. So, at the end of the lesson, students will be able to identify several healthy habits that promote overall health and wellness, explain why healthy choices are important, use Pixin to create a digital comic, design a comic with a beginning, a middle, and the end that teaches healthy habits, share and explain the message of their comic with classmates, and reflect on their experience using Pixin. So these are the content standards. We're not going to pay too much attention here. We're just kind of going to briefly go over it. So identify positive health practices that reduce illness and disease. Set a short-term goal for positive health practices. And then students communicate clearly and express themselves creatively using digital tools. Again, you can go back and read these if you would like, but we're just going to briefly move on. So here you'll be answering some questions about what you already know about healthy habits. I kind of just want to get a gist of what you already know about healthy habits. There are no wrong answers here. It's just kind of checking for understanding, kind of just getting an idea of what you already know. We'll be learning more, hopefully, with this lesson. So if you don't know much now, please don't stress. You'll be learning and be an expert, hopefully, by the end. So normally in the classroom, we would pair up, talk about these questions, and then talk about it as a class. But since we're online, I would want you to get a piece of paper and a pencil, number these questions, and then just kind of jot your ideas. Doesn't have to be complete sentences, just a quick note. Just make sure your questions are numbered so I know which one you're addressing. After you're done with that, we have a Think, Pair, Share activity. In class, you already know that I would share out a question. You'll kind of take a minute to think about it. Then you pair up with a friend, and then you kind of talk about the question and what each other's thoughts are. But again, since we're in online format, you can just jot down your idea on paper. You could still participate in Think, Pair, Share by talking about the question with a friend or a family member, a pet, and then just write down what you talked about. So the question is, what is one healthy choice you made today? So again, please do jot down your idea on the paper just so I know that you took a minute to think about it. So before we kind of just jump into you making your comic, I want to show you an example of mine. So I made a comic about healthy choices, and it's called Healthy Heroes, A Day of Good Choices. And then it says here it's by me. So let me show you what that's going to look like. So this is kind of what your comic's going to look like. You're going to have these squares, and then you're going to have to add scenes and characters and speech bubbles and captions. But I kind of want you just to pay attention that, the facial expressions change, the actions change, the scenes change. And then I have speech bubbles when characters are talking to each other. So that's your dialogue. And then captions is kind of just explaining what's going on in the scene. So look at the facial expressions, look at how the scenery changes, how their actions change, how they have speech bubbles where they're communicating with each other, and then the caption to explain the scene a little bit more. So my beginning is over here. I have a title, and then my beginning, and then the middle part. And then my ending is just kind of the overall message of the story, and then just an ending scene. So we'll look at that a little bit more when we get into using the Pixin app. But I do want you to read this story. I won't be reading the story with you right now, just for the sake of time. but you will go back and read the story on your own, because you will be answering questions about this story. So please pay attention. Should take you not that long to read it. It's only about 9 scenes. So please go back and read that on your own time. And then after you read it, here are the questions right here. Again, all the questions that I have on here will be linked on the Google Classroom, so you can go and look at the questions. So let's see what we learned from the story. Some of the questions are: who was the main character? What healthy habits did this character learn? So, to your own discretion, you can read the story and then answer the questions, or you could have the questions ready, read the story, pause, answer a question, keep reading, and then so on and so forth. Whatever works best for you, go ahead and do that. I purposely didn't number these questions, so please use complete sentences so I know what question you're addressing. So who was the main character? You'll just answer the main character was, and then answer, and then period. Remember to use capitalization, punctuation, proper grammar, all that good stuff. So now you're going to be making your own story about healthy habits using Pixin. Normally in the classroom environment, I would have you guys in a time constraint because we have different things to learn. So I would give you 40 minutes to create it. But since we're online, you know when your Pixin comic is due. So you're going to have to manage your own time wisely. Before you freak out, I will be showing you how to use the Pixin app. So let's go to the website Pixin. So when you get to the website, again, the link to the website will be on Google Classroom, or you can just type in pixin.com, which most of you know how to do already. When you get to the website, it's going to give you login, educator sign up, student sign up. You should not have the Pixin app already. If you do, you should kind of already know how to use it. But if you're new, like most of you, I'm assuming you're going to be using the student sign up. And then it's going to give you the option to sign up with an email. And there you'll be using your student email to sign up for the website. So for me, I just get to log in because I already have used Pixin, obviously, to create my own story. And then it'll take you to this page. You'll kind of already see I have projects. You won't have any projects. So you're going to click here, new project. Okay. And it's going to tell you here, click to add a scene. And then this is where you're going to get started. So here you'll see they give you different scenes. You can look up a specific scene you're looking for, or you can kind of go through the gallery that they have here. Or you could go here to backgrounds, and then it'll give you options. You can make your own custom one. But I would, just for the sake of time, just upload one of the ones that they have here. So those are scenes. And then characters, this is where you'll be making your characters. I suggest making your own custom characters. So you'll kind of plan it out. You need to have at least 2 characters. 3 is better, but the minimum of 2. So I would create them here just so it makes it faster to add them into the scenes, which I'll show you how to do right now. So you can create a new character right here. And then you can pick what age range. I will pick your guys' age range. And then you can pick female, male, non-binary, whatever you would like to select. I'm just going to click female. Then you can pick their body type, their skin tone, their hair color, hairstyle, eye color, glasses, an outfit, an expression, all those nice details. And then once you make a character, it'll show up here in custom characters. So here are my characters from the story already. And then you could also, if your characters are animals, they have creatures here already. Animals are fine. I would suggest using people if you could. And then we have some props here. You'll notice in my story that I talk about healthy foods, so I have healthy foods in mind. So for example, I'm going to click food up here. And then for healthy foods, I would use like bananas, apples, blueberries, chicken's healthy, cup of water, stuff like that. You could again look up certain props if you're looking for one, or from one of the suggestions up here. And then words, here is where you'll be adding your captions. Your captions can be on the top or the bottom of the scene, depending on how your scene's set up. So if your characters are on the bottom of the scene, you put the caption on top. If your characters are more up, you would put the caption at the bottom. So I'm just going to make a quick scene really quickly. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to pick a form. And then I'm going to add a character. I'm going to add me. This is my character. This is me. And then I'm going to click on myself and I can change my facial expression, my actions, or I can change my outfit. So I'm going to change my outfit here. Let's see. Is there a farmer outfit? Just so I fit into the scene, I can search up farmer. Hey, that looks like a farmer's outfit. There I am, I'm a farmer. And then you'll notice here the actions, so I can make myself look like I'm flying, I'm dancing, I'm pointing at something, I'm kneeling down. Just for the sake of time, I'm just gonna pick this one, like if I'm farming. And then I have the left and the right hand feature is like if you're holding something. So like if I were to be holding a shovel or like a tool, here I am, I'm gonna hold a wrench. And it's in the left hand, so you can't see it. I should probably do it with my right hand. So those are things you'll have to consider. I will hold a bucket. Maybe I'm looking for chicken eggs, or I'm holding a bucket of water. And then we have faces. You could change your facial expression. Since I'm working, it's kind of hot, I'll do kind of like, it's hot outside face. So those are the kinds of things you'll be doing. And then, of course, words. Here's your speech bubble, or a thought bubble, a shout bubble. I'm just going to use a regular speech bubble. I'm going to put, it's really hot out today. And there's my speech bubble. And then if I want to, I can change the way my eyes are facing. I could change which way I'm facing too by clicking flip up here. And then to add a caption, I'll just click on the scene and then words, and then I can put Farmer Catherine is gardening outside. And of course, yours is going to be tailored to healthy habits. This is just an example. So I can have my caption up here, or I can have it down here, depending on how it looks better. I think it looks better up here. And then I can also move my speech bubble if I think it's in the way. And there it is. And then I'm just going to push done. So you'll keep doing that. You're gonna have all these scenes, and you can keep adding scenes right here with just pushing plus. So that's kind of how to use Pixin. Then moving on, here's the kind of the main question of the lesson. How can you design a Pixin comic that teaches another third grader about making healthy choices every day? So just kind of be thinking about this question. Have it in the back of your head when you're making your Pixin comic. And then here I have the requirements. So create a Pixin comic that teaches other students about everyday habits. And then here's your requirements. You need a title page. You need a beginning, a middle, and an end. Here you could use your transition words that we just learned. That would really make it clear what your beginning, middle, and end is. You need a problem and a solution. You need at least 2 to 3 characters. 2 is fine, that's the minimum. I would suggest 3. You could also include more if you're feeling ambitious. You need a minimum of 5 scenes, including the title page. So you'll have your title page, and then a beginning, a middle, and end. And then maybe like you could have 2 middles, or you could have just like one scene that kind of shows the whole message. So 5 scenes total. And then you need to mention at least one healthy habit, but I would recommend 2, just to be safe. You notice here that I have a link, so you can click this link here, and it will take you to this healthy habits planning sheet. This is not required, but I recommend using it because if I knock you off some points for some requirements that you missed, I'm going to say, well, did you attempt to use the planning sheet? And then if you don't, I'm going to have you go back, fill it out, and then fix your comic really quick. So here, your name and date. You could type this, or you can print it out and do it by hand. It's your choice. So here I have the requirements just as a reminder again of what you need. And then here I have it step by step on what you'll be filling out. So step 1, plan your story. Here you're going to be putting your title of your comic, and then here you're going to name your main character. Here you'll name your second character. And then if you have a third or more, you can name them here in this box. Here you're going to jot down your problem. Here you're going to jot down your solution. And then here's where you'll jot down your healthy habit or habits. Remember, a minimum of 1, but I recommend 2. Then step 2, you'll have you're gonna kind of plan out your scenes here. So scene 1 is your title page. You're gonna put the title of your comic here. And then drawing/scene ideas. Here you'll kind of sketch out what your scene looks like, or you can kind of bullet point what you're gonna make it look like. But sketching out is always fun, so you can kind of just sketch it in this spot. And then scene 2 is the beginning. You'll introduce your character and the setting. Again, sketch it out or jot your idea. And then here you'll have a dialogue or captions. So here's kind of what you'll put for like what your characters are saying to each other. And then kind of caption is just kind of explaining what's going on in the scene. So for example, I would put like Abraham is saying, wow, I feel so tired today. And then Madison will say, did you get enough sleep last night? And then the caption will be like, Abraham comes to school feeling tired. And then just an idea. And then scene 3, the middle, what does your character face? What problem does your character face? Sorry. Again, sketching, dialogue, captions. And then how is the problem solved? What is the healthy habit? Which healthy habit helps? Sketch it out, dialogue, captions. And then the ending. How does your story end? What is the lesson learned? Again, sketch it out, dialogue, captions. And then everything you see in green is optional. So if you want to add more scenes, please feel free to do so. But please make sure you have all the requirements before you become ambitious and add more scenes. The requirements are important. And then here I have a checklist to make sure you're covering all the requirements just to kind of keep you on track so you can check these boxes when you fulfill the requirement. And then here at the bottom, I just have additional space for you to sketch, note, or brainstorm. So here's just kind of a tool to help you start planning before you get straight into your comic. Again, the link to all these sources are on Google Classroom. And then to wrap up this lesson, you need to fill out an exit ticket. So here's the link right here. You could just click on it, or again, the links are on Google Classroom. So here's what the exit ticket looks like. You're going to have your name here. Just type in your name. What is the title of your comic? And then what healthy habit or habits did your comic teach? So check all the ones that apply. So if you talked about eating healthy, drinking water, you'll check those. Or if you talked about washing hands or getting enough sleep, you'll check those. Only check the ones that are mentioned in your story. And then if you have one that I didn't mention, you just check other, and then you could type it in right here, what it is. And then I have some questions. I'm very specific, so pay attention. In 2 sentences, explain what problem did your character have and how was it solved. So in 1 sentence, explain what the problem was, and then the 2nd sentence, explain what the solution is. I'm not going to read all these questions, so you can kind of just read them and tackle them on your own. And this one right here, how easy was it to use Pixin today? If you found it very difficult, then you would rate it a 1. Or if you found it somewhat difficult, 2. If you found it fairly difficult, you would rate it a 3. If it was somewhat easy, I'd put 4. And if it was really easy for you, then you'd pick 5. And then if you didn't finish your comic today, around how much more time do you need? And then you could pick here. How much additional time you need, or if you already finished, you'd pick here. And then if you need extra help or have any questions or additional comments, you can go ahead and just type it in here, and then you just click submit. Alright, so that wraps up our lesson for today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And I hope you're really excited to get into learning about healthy habits and making your own comic. I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. Thank you for watching.